Hey, welcome to another Keymasters episode. I'm Sven Rajala, the host, and we've got Tomas Gustavsson again with us, the Chief PKI Officer of Keyfactor. And today's topic, we want to discuss CA hierarchy and what's really the strategy you need for that. Do I need 1, 2, or 3 CAs? Like, what do you think? Why don't we start with 1? Why would I use 1 CA?
Yeah, you're talking about the depth, right? Or what you call the hierarchy. Depth of the hierarchy.
Exactly.
Like a root CA, and maybe they call it an intermediate CA.
I like to call it a policy CA.
Yeah, or policy CA. That's a classic name. And then the issuing CA, right?
Yes.
And the issuing CA is the one that issues all the thousands or millions or billions
leaf certs too.
Leaf certs.
Yeah, that's the buzzword I'm seeing around now. Other people ask me, what's a leaf cert? And I'm like, that's just an identity. But yeah, why would we use 1 CA? What would a use case be for that?
It's easy, right? That's what of course, when I do my testing in EGBC, I just create a CA and maybe with a post-quantum algorithm to see how good it works. And then I start issuing entity certificate from that.
I mean,
it's a no-brainer.
Well, I've also seen it used, though, in places where you're on an island in a network, right, where you're literally on a detached island, maybe classified network or something like that, where they need PKI for the trust, but it doesn't really make sense to have a hierarchy there.
Yeah.
They're just self-issuing, everything stays on the island.
Yeah, I guess it goes against the original...
Our traditions of what we've done.
Original traditional PKI design, or call it what you want, where there should be a root, a policy, and a issuing, right? But as you say, that complicates things. So if you want to keep things,
we don't have to be.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the KISS principle, which I hope everyone knows, so I don't have to say bad words here.
Wait, you mean keep it simple, Sven?
Yeah, that's right. That's excellent. I am a big fan of keep it simple, Sven principle, and 1 CA is very simple. And the downside is that you have to keep it online, right? When you issue leaf certificates, it has to be online, and when you issue CRLs or revoke something, it needs to be online, which is why
not ideal.
Yeah,
definitely not ideal.
I guess for security reasons, that's the only reason, or that's the reason why you want to have a separate root CA, which is offline, isn't it? Or air-gapped, which is kind of the more modern and appropriate term.
Drives us into the next way when we have, I would say, the pretty traditional de facto, a 2-tier where we have a root, most likely offline. I've only run into 1 case where I've ever had an online one, and then a issuing CA. So I guess that's pretty our de facto. Yeah.
Definitely.
Our go-to, and if you don't have a plan, that would be the plan to go that way?
Yeah, exactly. We don't want to... There's so much that depends in the PKI world, so we always say, for every seemingly simple question, we say that depends. But yeah, we want to try to be a bit more helpful. So yeah, if you don't know, definitely a 2-level hierarchy is, I would say, the way to go.
And then the 3-tier, what are your thoughts on that?
That's my thoughts have usually been that it's overly complex for most use cases, actually, that we see out there now. Most modern use cases, using 3 complicates things in just makes it more complicated without a lot of benefit. So then what is actually the benefit of having this intermediate policy CA?
The only thing that I've really seen on that is from customers that need to operate their PKI in geographical areas due to policy in that state. Like, let's say they need one to operate that stays in Asia, so they have to keep the chain in Asia, but then they may have a route there, but they have different countries now they operate in, so they'd have a policy CA that way, local to the different subordinates or the issuing CAs they'd run in country. So if they were doing manufacturing, for instance, they might have a Asian route with the policy CAs, like say Vietnam or Japan or China, and have issuing CAs off of that. Or then they've got some in Europe and then the US and South America. It's really been more of a global strategy that I've seen, and it does get really complicated. But then looking at it, I didn't really see any other way they could do this because of the policies that they were having to operate or abide by.
Right, yeah, it kind of scales down, and you can limit things on that intermediate that affects all the issuing CAs. Especially, yeah, that like if your organization have strict control of the root maybe and the intermediate or the policy CAs, right? They don't have to have strict control over the issuing CAs. They can still limit those through the policy CA or what they can do. That's true. So also like organizational structure and where you can leverage control.
So yeah,
I guess that's an important part.
Right. So I guess really the moral of the story is, for our wrap up, that if you don't have a plan, definitely just stick with 2. It's okay to have a single CA for a test environment. And if you really need to go that complicated due to where you're operating, you could consider a 3-tier. But otherwise, everything else.
Yeah. Or I think we mentioned like it's okay with 1 if you're on a
on
isolated
the island, yeah.
If you're on your island, because then if you're compromised because the root CA is online, you can just tear down everything and burn it and then start over from scratch. It's not a problem if you don't have any other people that's relying on your root CA.
That's a good point. So yeah, that sums it up. So thanks for attending our episode today, and we'll see you in the next Keymasters episode.